Romulus and Remus miraculously saved and suckled by a she-wolf, right? Two twin brothers, abandoned as infants, who then go on to found the greatest city in the ancient world, Rome. It's a tale of divine destiny, heroism, and brotherhood. But what if I told you that this beloved founding myth is a carefully constructed lie? A brilliant piece of political propaganda designed to cover up a much darker, more brutal, and far more human origin story. A story the Romans themselves tried to bury for centuries. Today, we're peeling back the layers of legend to expose the shocking truth that history often avoids. Stick with me, because what we uncover will change the way you see Rome forever. Let's start with the official story, the one you'd find in the works of Roman historians like Livy. King Numitor of Alba Longa is overthrown by his wicked brother, Amulius. To eliminate any future rivals, Amulius forces Numitor's daughter, Rhea Silvia, to become a Vestal virgin, sworn to chastity. But the god Mars has other plans. He visits Rhea Silvia, and she gives birth to twin boys, Romulus and Remus. Fearing the prophecy that these boys would one day restore their grandfather to the throne, Amulius orders them to be thrown into the Tiber River. But fate intervenes. The basket carrying the twins washes ashore, where they are discovered by a she-wolf, the Lupa, who nurses them. Later, they're found by a shepherd named Faustulus, who raises them as his own. It's a perfect, almost fairy tale-like beginning. As young men, the twins discover their true identity, lead a revolt, kill Amulius, and restore their grandfather Numitor to the throne. Mission accomplished, right? But these ambitious brothers aren't content with just restoring the old king. They want to build their own city. This is where the story takes its first dark turn. They can't agree on where to build it. Romulus chooses the Palatine Hill, Remus the Aventine Hill. They decide to let the gods choose through augury, the practice of interpreting the flight of birds. Remus sees 6 vultures first, but Romulus then sees 12. A heated argument erupts over who truly received the divine sign. Was it the first to see or the one who saw more? In a fit of rage, as Remus mockingly jumps over the half-built walls of Romulus's new city, Romulus strikes him down, killing his own twin brother. Romulus then declares, "So shall it be for all who dare to cross my walls." And with that act of fratricide, the city of Rome is officially founded on April 21st, 753 BC, even within the myth itself. Rome's foundation is literally built on a brother's blood. The Romans were aware of this. For them, it symbolized the idea that Rome would do anything, even commit the ultimate taboo, to protect its integrity and its walls. It was a warning embedded in their own origin story. But here's the thing. Historians and archaeologists have long suspected that the entire story, from the she-wolf to the divine parentage, is pure fiction. So what really happened? To find the answer, we have to dig, literally. Archaeological evidence tells a very different story. The area we now know as Rome was on an empty piece of land, waiting for a hero to claim it. For centuries before 753 BC, the famous Seven Hills were home to small, independent villages of Latin and Sabine shepherds and farmers. These weren't grand cities. They were collections of huts on hilltops, separated by marshy, inhospitable valleys. The Palatine Hill, where Romulus supposedly founded his city, shows signs of settlement dating back to the 10th century BC, a good 250 years before the legendary founding. There was no single, dramatic founding event. Instead, what archaeologists see is a slow, gradual process of coalescence. Over time, these separate hilltop villages began to interact, to trade, and eventually to merge. They started draining the marshy lowlands, which would become the future Roman Forum, the heart of the city. This process, known as synocism, the merging of several small settlements into a single city-state, is a common pattern in the ancient world. It's less dramatic than a hero's tale, but it's far more realistic. So if Rome was just a bunch of villages that slowly grew together, where did the Romulus and Remus story come from? And why invent such a specific and violent myth? The answer lies in politics and propaganda. The myth of Romulus and Remus doesn't appear in its full-fledged form until much later in Roman history. Around the 3rd century BC, this was a time when Rome was rapidly expanding. It was no longer a local power. It was conquering its neighbors in Italy and beginning to clash with major powers like Carthage. A city with such grand ambitions needed a grand origin story, saying we were a bunch of huts that got bigger just doesn't have the same ring to it, does it? They needed a story that justified their rule and their destiny. So, they crafted one. By claiming descent from the god of war, Mars, they positioned themselves as a people destined for military greatness. By linking their story to the Trojan hero Aeneas, who supposedly fled Troy and settled in Italy generations before Romulus, they connected themselves to the prestigious and ancient Greek world. This was a power move, essentially telling the culturally sophisticated Greeks, we have a history just as epic as yours. The story of Romulus provided a single, heroic founder, a focal point for national identity, and a divine mandate for conquest. But let's go deeper into the brutal truth hidden within the myth. Remember the she-wolf, the lupa? It's a powerful image. But the Latin word lupa had a double meaning. While it did mean a female wolf, it was also a common slang term for a prostitute. In fact, Roman brothels were called lupinaria. Some ancient writers, including the historian Livy himself, mention an alternative version of the story where the twins weren't saved by an animal at all, but were found and raised by a prostitute named Accilarentia, the wife of the shepherd Faustulus. Think about what that changes. It strips away the divine miracle and replaces it with a story of human desperation and survival at the very margins of society. Rome wasn't founded by demigods, but by the abandoned children of a disgraced princess, raised by a woman of low social standing. This version was far too gritty, too real for the grand narrative Rome wanted to project. So the more magical, animal-centric version became the official story. The brutal truth was sanitized for public consumption. And what about the most famous part of early Roman history after its founding? The rape of the Sabine women. According to the legend, Romulus's new city was full of men outcasts, runaway slaves, and ambitious youths, but had very few women. To secure the future of Rome, Romulus invited the neighboring Sabine tribe to a festival, in the middle of the festivities, at a prearranged signal. The Roman men seized the unmarried Sabine women and forcibly took them as their wives. This event, which modern sensibilities would call a mass abduction and assault, was framed by Roman historians as a necessary, if regrettable, act to ensure the city's survival. It was even portrayed as a clever political move that ultimately led to the merging of the Romans and Sabines into one people. But let's be clear. The brutal truth here is that the foundation of the Roman family, the cornerstone of their society, was based on an act of extreme violence against women. Archaeologically, the story likely reflects a period of conflict and forced alliances between the early Latin settlers on the Palatine Hill and the Sabine people on the nearby Querinal and Capitoline hills. The myth takes a messy, violent period of tribal warfare and forced integration and turns it into a single, dramatic event, with a heroic, if ruthless, protagonist. It justifies aggression and violence in the name of the greater good of the state. So, when we put it all together, what do we have? The founding of Rome wasn't a single event on a specific day. It was a slow, organic process of settlement and fusion over centuries. The founder wasn't a divinely conceived demigod, but likely a series of strong tribal chieftains whose stories were later merged into the single figure of Romulus. The city wasn't born from a heroic act, but from a messy reality of social outcasts, political ambition, and brutal conflict. The famous story of Romulus and Remus is a masterpiece of historical revisionism. It's a myth created to give a burgeoning empire a sense of destiny, to justify its aggressive expansion, and to paper over the violent, chaotic, and deeply human origins of the city. It hides the truth that Rome was founded not by gods and miracles, but by people, ambitious, flawed, and often brutal people. And that in itself is a far more compelling and powerful story than any legend. If you enjoyed uncovering the truth behind the myth, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that history books often leave out. Let me know in the comments what other historical myths you'd like me to tackle next. See you in the next video.